welcome and Ijoma Onyato tonight. The U.S. government says it's in dialogue with the Nigerian government over the release of $458 million Abacha loot. The Senate postpones the confirmation of EFCC Chairman Ibrahim Magu over low attendance of lawmakers. NBA President Abacha Mahmoud charges Nigerian leaders to take a cue from Cuba in the provision of basic amenities for the citizenry. And Syrian army suspends combat operations in eastern Aleppo to allow for evacuation of civilians trapped in the battle zone.
On business news tonight, the Central Bank of Nigeria set to reduce adult financial exclusion in the system.
On sports news, Minister of Youth and Sports Solomon Dalong insists Super Falcons will receive all entitlements in spite of initial delays.
Hello, I'm Ibrahim Adjoa, and from Abuja, Senate Committee on Constitutional Amendment proposes suspension of revenue to any local government without democratically elected structure.
We begin tonight in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, where the United States government says it's begun dialogue with the federal government on the release of the $458 million Abacha loot. The Deputy Chief of Mission, Mr. David Young, made this known at a conference to mark the International Anti-Corruption Day. Our correspondent Gloria Umezoke reports.
Series of efforts by the presidency to weed out corruption have been lauded. But the issue of Nigeria's inability to recover all her stolen funds is generating more concern. In a no-holds-barred dialogue at the U.S. Embassy, corruption as an enemy of development was part of discussions to mark the International Anti-Corruption Day in Nigeria. Human rights activist Mr. Femi Falana echoed his disappointment at the U.S. handling of the Abacha loot.
The U.S. government has filed an objection to the release of $458 million of the Abacha loot before the High Court in Jersey in the UK. The court will have released the money by now, but the U.S. government is raising an objection that the money should be given to the U.S. government. They are going to manage the money for us.
We know that the recovery of stolen assets, which are in the United States and other countries, is an important part of that effort, and we are committed to partnering with the Nigerian government moving forward. This is obviously a systemic effort that takes time. We have legal processes that we have to go through in order to recover these stolen assets, but we're committed and we are involved in dialogue with the Nigerian government and to move forward in this effort.
Several groups have also joined in the call for better coordination of the retrieval process, including the loot stashed away in Swiss banks to recover the nation's monies and ease the impact of the recession.
Our State House correspondent Chukwuma Onyekwusi reporting there. The planned screening of the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ibrahim Magu, by the Senate has been stalled. The Senate cited poor attendance of lawmakers at today's plenary session as the reason for the failed exercise. They were scheduled to screen Mr. Magu today, 5 months after the President sent a request to the upper legislative chamber. Briefing journalists after plenary, the Senate Deputy Majority Leader Bala Ibn Na'ala said Mr. Magu has officially been informed of the Senate's decision to reschedule the screening to Thursday, December the 15th.
The Senate has a program of work based on priority. And I'm sure you saw that certain confirmations were sent to the Senate that were very, very crucial, and it was done timeously. Now, you are entitled to think differently. But anybody who is familiar with the normal procedure of governance will have known that there are certain procedures that equally may not necessarily go easily on the floor of the Senate. One of such is the nomination of Ibrahim Magu as the acting chairman. If you remember, he was nominated by the President and sent to the National Assembly. 3 attempts were made to fix a date for the confirmation hearing. And all those days fell accidentally within the date that the Senate could not sit for one reason or the other. So we agreed at the leadership meeting that, okay, fine, let us put it against Thursday. We have since written a letter, an official letter to the acting chairman, giving him that Thursday unfailingly as the day for the confirmation hearing of his appointment. I hope this explains the situation.
Nigerian women have been asked to be at the forefront of the fight against corruption, and this challenge is coming from the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ibrahim Magu, at the launch of the Nigerian Women Against Corruption campaign in Abuja. He said that the launch of the campaign is part of efforts aimed at instilling the right values in families.
I intend to keep my oath.
Since the inception of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration on May the 29th, 2015, the word anti-corruption has become a daily mantra amongst Nigerians, reinforcing the administration's cardinal objective to reduce corruption as far as possible. What's new, however, is an ongoing campaign to engage more women into helping achieve this objective by serving as torchbearers in preaching the message of anti-corruption.
I therefore call on women in the 36th state of the Federation, including the FCT and the 774 local governments across the nation, to be prepared to carry on the torch of probity and transparency in the conduct of public affairs.
There were those who expressed their opinions on why corruption thrives in Nigeria, and one of the main reasons highlighted is financial pressure from women to keep up with the latest trends from fashion items to consumer goods.
Let's reduce this flamboyant behavior of buying expensive goods. We want to buy new cars all the time. We want to move to a new house just because our husbands have gotten promotions. We want our children to belong.
Wife of the president, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, solicited the support of Nigerians in reducing corruption. She says women are more likely to be on the receiving end of mismanaged funds for public services.
My dear fellow Nigerian women, to totally erase the effect of corruption on us and our children, we must raise up to our roles as responsible mothers and nation builders. It is time for us to go back and be the builders that we are meant to be.
The launch of the Nigerian Women Against Corruption campaign is expected to serve as a wake-up call for women in respect of their role in helping the government succeed in its anti-corruption war.
The president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Abubakar Mahmood, is appealing to leaders in the country to step up efforts towards the provision of good governance. Mr. Malami, who was speaking at a meeting in Abuja, is asking political office holders to take a cue from Cuba, where the provision of basic amenities is given priority.
It is not a musical festival, but an event organized by the Nigerian Labour Congress to celebrate the life of Fidel Castro, the 90-year-old Cuban who can be described as a revolutionary. As the country's leader, Castro implemented communist domestic policies and initiated military and economic relations with the Soviet Union that led to strained relations with the United States, which culminated in the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. Under Castro, improvements were made to health care and education, but some argue that he maintained dictatorial control over the country and brutally persecuted or imprisoned anyone thought to be an enemy of the regime. One after the other, human rights experts and members of civil society organizations extolled the virtues of Fidel Castro's leadership style.
Many Nigerian doctors received their training in Cuba. Not a few received and are still receiving medical treatment in Cuba.
For many in this hall, the legacy of better health care, education and strong leadership traits should be emulated by all. This, according to them, will serve as a starting point for better governance.
Cuba, a tiny island in the Caribbean of less than 11 million people, or 11 million I think, has become such a true example for good governance and people-oriented programs.
Although the relationship between Cuba and Nigeria has been a long-standing one, the Cuban ambassador to Nigeria promised a better deal in the areas of cultural exchange, education, and health.
Cuba will continue the same it was under Fidel Castro, and with much more strength to try to achieve what is, for us, still a small part of what the humanity deserves.
While the world still mourns the death of a controversial icon, participants at this meeting promised to keep hope alive. They promised to strive towards achieving good governance.
Now, pensioners in Osun State have stormed the state's House of Assembly complex to protest non-payment of their gratuities. They chased away the lawmakers and visitors from the assembly and stopped normal official activities at the complex.
Pensioners and civil society groups barricade the main entrance of the Osun State House of Assembly, locking the lawmakers out of the premises. For months now, the pensioners and the state government have been at loggerheads over non-payment of gratuities and arrears. They're accusing the lawmakers of complicity in the poor management of the state and its finances by the present administration.
They are not representing us well. When Governor Rauf diverted that money, we came to this house, we had series of meetings with the Speaker of the House. Nothing came out. ICPC indicted Governor Aregbesola. Speaker and all his BP member didn't raise any finger, any eyebrow.
The protesters also organized a mock at the Assembly complex where they impeached the state governor, Rauf Aregbesola, and the leadership of the State Assembly.
I suggested that we should snatch the government from the hand of Aregbesola. And you agree or you don't agree?
However, all the claims were denounced by the lawmakers.
We know that the money is inadequate to fund the expenditure of government. So there's nothing anybody can do except if the revenue of the state is increased to the level that can bring a comfort to everybody. Even though as I'm standing, I have an outstanding salary which has not been paid.
The pensioners also alleged that the state government misappropriated the 39 billion naira bailout fund given by the federal government.
They are telling lies. No response at all of any issue. Seeing what happened about 2 weeks ago is enough for them to wade in and see what they can do to solve the problem. If they do not have a letter, that's not my business. It's the business of those who handle the administrative aspect of the assembly. Our own is just to give a directive.
As the tension continues, the pensioners have vowed to return to the House of Assembly if nothing is done to resolve the issues raised.
In part two, after the break, AU Special Envoy on Counter-Terrorism says empowerment of communities is key in the fight against extremism and terrorism. That's in a moment. So join us again.